Well, that's one thing that we want to be clear about. We don't replace what the crane controls, right? But everything the crane hasn't been able to control, that's what we're trying to control. So the trolley mechanism, for example, we're dealing with a drifting, right, with that trolley. If it's not a tower crane, for example, you're doing that with boom drift or swing drift. You're still going to control those things with the crane operation. But with our technology, we're just controlling that rotational aspect that only taglines have been able to control before. So, we're adding in a level of control that you've actually really never had. So traditionally, when you're placing a load without our system, you might have two, four, six people just trying to manhandle that load once it gets close to its positioning, right? Or with taglines up to 250, 300 feet away, depending on what type of application you're using it for. So we're not replacing the crane control, but we are replacing what you've always tried to use your bodies to control.
Is there a stabilization mechanism to it?
So the system in itself does stabilize it rotationally. Any type of sway movements, like let's take Wolfcron for example. They have a anti-sway technology that they have on a number of their tower cranes, right? That isn't something that our system does in that regard, but we do control the rotational side. That's really the key. It's that simple. It's just the rotational aspect of it. But when you combine the two technologies, for example, or you can combine some really experienced control operation of that crane, someone who really knows what they're doing. I've seen firsthand on job sites that it reduces what I like to nickname the death circle, right? And traditionally when you're learning how to run a crane, you're trying to prevent that death circle, and you have to either do that by first controlling your swing drift or your boom drift when you're out of control, and the more control you have, the better you become. I think that controlling the rotation of the load with the VLN, for example, it really does um, prevent those as well. It helps prevent those motions.
Okay, great. And then what is the weight on your mechanism? How much weight are you adding to, your under the hook weight?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing about our technology is it can be utilized in multiple configurations. Our go-to-market, we usually put it out and market it as a combination of what we call our fan tubes and our e-box onto a beam. In this case, Codwell is our main beam that we market, and it's a modular Duramod beam that they have that they produce. It's very lightweight. So when we look at our standard sizes, we go from a 7 foot shackle to shackle spread up to a 20-foot shackle to shackle spread. We found that those are the most marketable and usually what the client needs the most out of everything that we build. And so the weight range of that is anywhere from 1,600 pounds all the way up to 2,500 pounds. It's actually pretty lightweight, and that's
Yeah, that
at a
is.
capacity of about 40 metric tons, so 88,000 pounds. Now, it's important to note, though, that we can take off the beam. And for example, we can actually place it on like 70-meter bridges. We're working on a project right now coming up here where we're actually placing two units together. And what we'll do is we'll put the fan tubes mounted on top of the E-box, which is that white box. And it's a different configuration. And then we'll let them communicate with each other. And we'll just do a quick attachment to the load itself. The way our system works is it's a combination of torque and leverage. And when you put the two together, that's what gives you the power to be able to control that load. So even at that 7 meter spread, and we combine those systems, we have that control, even though it's a much larger load than like 40 metric tons. So the weight of the e-box and the fan tubes, to answer your weight question there, we're looking at about roughly, I'd say, 600 to 800 pounds of weight there per unit, and then you can combine 2, 4, 6 units onto that load too. So that's kind of your range. It could be anywhere from 600, I'd say, up to 2,500, depending on your configuration.
Okay.